Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. We appreciate it. Very glad to have back with us Mr. Mike Sobert.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
That. Of course, the General Manager, Terrebonne Consolidated Waterworks. And listen, it's this time of year where we get these cold snaps.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people get a little complacent. You know, they're like, oh, you know, everything's going to be fine. But when we get this kind of cold weather, when it's below freezing for multiple hours, we need to be a little bit better prepared.
I would agree. And again, I'm not privy to any information that everybody can get from the 5,000 experts on Facebook or on the meteorologists on television.
Right.
But I can tell you what will happen if it does get cold enough and the pipes do start breaking and those kinds of things.
Right.
So, again, as I can appreciate it, you know, you're all right till sometime Monday afternoon, Monday night, early Tuesday morning, like 12:01 a.m.
Right.
So maybe just use that time to kind of do a few very, very simple things that can potentially save you a lot of heartache and headache afterwards. One, outside faucets and hoses. Turn the water off, drain the hose. Because if you wrap it like everybody does, that water is still sitting in the bottom once you disconnect it.
Right.
Drain all of that out, get yourself ready. If you don't know where your shut-off valve for your water meter is and you choose to do that as an alternative, call us, 879-2419. We'll tell you exactly where it's at in your yard.
Right.
Go to Google Earth, we'll point you to it, we can do it.
Right.
If that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Everybody else kind of says, I don't get under the house quite like I used to. Maybe I'm just going to let the water run. Mm-hmm. So I use well, I guess they call it an engineering pencil. But anyway, this is a 7mm pencil.
Right.
When we say a drip, we kind of mean like
that little
the little part of it, not
very
the
small
big part.
Right.
You pay the water bill, you do what you want.
Right. But
Okay?
that's all it needs.
That's all it needs.
Little drip.
And the science behind that is that when any fluid flows in the inside of a pipe in laminar flow, slow, the walls of the pipe are the slowest because of the friction of whatever the fluid is. Inside of the middle is where the water will be flowing through. It's not so much that the water has frozen and that broke your pipe. What broke your pipe was there was no place for the expansion of the water freezing
to go.
So if you leave just that little trickle run through the middle, you leave that space. So if it does freeze, it freezes to the middle, and then you're all right.
Right.
You know, Keith, as you know, I froze water for a living for 35 years.
35 years
so
now.
I know a little bit about freezing water inside of a pipe.
Right.
So if you can just leave just that little bit of a trickle flowing all the time.
Right.
If you have a house that nobody's in, you know, almost 20% of our customers use no water on average every month.
Wow.
That's a lot of camps that nobody's here. That's why
that's
we're
right.
starting
That's
early.
Right.
We get calls in the middle of the freeze, you know, like, hey, man, can you go turn my water off? Hey, man, like, are you real? You serious?
No, we can't.
No, we can't, you know. So take this time now, get yourself prepared. Either turn your water off. You don't know where your shut-off meter is.
Right.
I can tell you it's not the one with the wires hanging from the top going on the side of your house. It's in the ground.
Yeah,
I
it's in the
promise you.
ground. And typically in your front yard.
That's
typically.
exactly right. Call us, let us know. We'll point you right to it. It will
figure
go
that
from
out.
there.
Now, do people who have slabs need to do that same thing?
From what I understand going on, it's not going to be that cold for that long, so I really wouldn't be concerned.
Right. But
we
those have
in
raised
the
houses,
past had some 2 and 3 days of teens.
Right.
And
That's
then in
different.
that case, you can have a problem.
Right.
But some common things to do is, one, a lot of people have plumbing up in their attic.
Yep, that's exactly right.
put the heat up a little bit and let that hot air go into that attic
Right.
and keep that water from freezing and bursting inside of your house.
Right.
PEX, you know, it's very popular, and I'm not a licensed plumber, but PEX will expand 5 times its diameter without bursting.
Wow.
That's great. The problem is the fittings that you use won't.
That's exactly
And so your
right.
pipe will stay good and not
Right.
leaking, but you'll blow out the corner
Right.
on the 90 or the T or whatever
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
So,
'Cause those aren't
but
as
if it's
protected.
in your attic and you're a little concerned, maybe just crank up another degree or 2, and that hot air that's in your house will go through your attic, and it'll keep your pipes from bursting
Nice
there.
and nice and warm. Wrapping the faucets
Yes.
outside. Very
Again,
important.
you know, it's just what do you do when you're cold? If you're cold,
Right.
you put it on.
Right.
Now, our body generates 98.6. If you're good, you're good. And that's what you're trying to do, keep that water in.
Right.
For the last month, our water has been 50 degrees that we're treating. Okay,
50
so it's
degrees.
flowing through the ground. It's 50 degrees. It's coming out already. It's your house at 50.
50,
Well,
okay.
if you let it come out from where the ground is and it's 20 outside, you might want to keep that wrapped for a little while.
Right. Right.
You know, if you're in a house that you know nobody's in, or you set the thermostat at 50, open up the kitchen cabinets. Let all that plumbing that's in the walls and things like that have access. 50's,
some of the heat.
50 is not maybe good enough to keep you warm, but it's good enough to keep the water from freezing.
Very nice. Very nice.
And our website, www.tpcw.org, all kinds of tips that you can help yourself to prevent that water from freezing and then having an extremely high water bill. Because we get slammed twice. When it's cold, everybody's running the water, you're putting a drain on the system.
Right.
The worst part is after it freezes and all the pipes are broken and you didn't know that, now when it starts thawing, that's when we find out
thawing
about
and
it.
leaking.
That's correct.
And we
Yes,
start
sir.
using even
Yeah.
more water.
Yeah.
Mike, we always appreciate your many years of knowledge. We certainly want to listen to it. Many people have had a lot of cost savings and headaches
Yeah.
by listening to
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you
And
very
we want to
much.
go to that
Yeah.
website
Yeah.
if, in fact, they want
I
more
appreciate
of
that.
the tips.
Usually I can tell you what not to do better than I can tell you what to do.
To do.
So-
I got
but
you.
anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so
We'll do
much.
that on the
Always a
front.
pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank
Always
you,
a
Mike.
pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on Buy You Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.